All right, good morning, everybody. My name's Eric Van Essen, and I'm sitting next to Jake Middleton. You want to say hi, Jake?
Hi everyone.
So what we're planning on presenting today is SR&ED time logging with EPDM for small teams. So it's a little bit of a long-winded title, but I guess the goals of today are fairly straightforward. And those are pictures of us, by the way, just to so you get to know what we look like. A couple quick goals for today. Javelin Technologies and the recommended setup for small teams. So the idea is that we wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to the vault that Javelin has created, and we're providing it to some customers as a recommended setup. It's really helped streamline the setup process in many aspects, and can really help you out. And then the other thing I wanted to go through as well is the SR&ED tax claims. So we just basically want to get a sense of some possibilities within enterprise PDM, and also show a methodology that we created at Javelin in order to document the time spent on certain projects, and basically ways to log time and be able to report on it later on. But basically it's the funding program for the government, and it's the idea is to fund any sort of experimental or any research R&D that happens at your company. So a few claims. It would be interesting to know that about 18,000 claims were put through in. This is actually a stat from a few years ago, but it accounted for $4 billion of tax claims that went back to Canadian businesses. So just be aware that there is an enormous amount of funding available to essentially go back towards your company if you're doing R&D type work. It's also interesting to know that a big portion of what goes back is related to the time. So you can get up to, or actually a little over even, 70% of your engineering wages can be recovered by doing proper SR&ED tax claims. It's also been people have also made me aware that the documentation, time-stamping a documentation, and also the proper time tracking are some of the most important aspects of doing a successful tax claim. So that's an area that we're going to focus on a little bit today, but also show you what the Enterprise PDM Vault is at the same time. And also, the number of claims rejected has been on the rise due to the lack of supporting documentation. So this is coming from a few different partners of ours that are helping clients do these tax claims. They're letting us know that the government is cracking down a little bit on what you're doing. So sometimes, an Excel spreadsheet that we're doing on December 31st of what you did that year is not necessarily enough. They're looking for some more supporting documentation throughout the year. So let's shift gears for a second. Just a little bit about enterprise PDM and the areas that we're helping you with. There's obviously a lot of areas that we're helping customers with this tool and just get managed, but the ones that are really relevant when it comes to proper documentation and this time tracking theme of today, searching and reporting is just an enormous area or an enormous advantage of having EPDM. So it's about having everything readily accessible, all your project data, potentially your time logs as well, all readily available with some quickly accessible reports. It's also important to keep track of revisions and just having that log of everything that you've been doing at your company. There's obviously a lot of other benefits as well, but related to the tax funding, it's very important to have the artifacts related and the supporting documentation with a clear history on it. And then, of course, retyping is an area that we're helping people with as well. So the big advantage you'll see in a moment, as we're logging information within EPDM, we can capture a lot of the information that's already there, such as project information, customer, and items like that. Now, these issues go up to really help at different levels of the company. When it comes to a team of people, responsiveness is a really important aspect of it. Making sure you get that funding is an important aspect, and it also encourages innovation. It just gives you a chance to really because you are logging it, you're getting reimbursed for a lot of your time. It really can encourage you to be more innovative at your company and to not feel bad about spending time on that stuff, because that's really the purpose of the program, is to encourage Canadian businesses to get some more innovative ideas out there. And then, of course, for the high-level side of your company, having some external funding in, as well as just being more responsive and being a more efficient engineering department, really, at the end of the day, comes down to profitability improvement. So a little bit extra money in and a little bit less money going out. And that'll really help you be competitive as well. So I just like going through this typical listing of how we're benefiting a company at different levels, and I'm trying my best again to keep it on the theme of today. Okay. So with that, let's go through a quick demonstration of Enterprise PDM. So for those of you who are already clients, some of this might be a little bit of a repeat, but for those of you who are new to the concept of ePDM, I think this will be a good session for you just to learn what it's all about. The first thing I want to go over is just how readily or how easy it is to work within this vaulted environment. So this is within the ePDM folder structure and where you're working. So what I'm going to do is just save this PowerPoint presentation, browse to my C drive, and what we'll notice on my C drive is that we actually have two different vaults. We have a Jav Center, and that's one that we use internally here at Javelin. So this is actually in a blue folder structure right now because it's offline. And I have the one that I'm using for demo purposes today, which is green folders, and that's because it's online right now and everything's under version and revision management. I'm going to browse over to a folder and I'm going to hit save. So basically there's no difference between saving a file in your local C drive than it is to saving within the vault to a user experience standpoint. But we're getting a lot of benefits right out of the gate. What we'll notice is that this PowerPoint is actually being added or backed up to the vault structure, and one of the main benefits that people are seeing right out of the gate is that any changes to this documentation are automatically tracked. So let's make an obvious change. I'm just going to change the title here to red. We'll save it, close it down, and then we'll have a look at this PowerPoint within the PDM structure. So what I'm using here is just Windows Explorer, a very familiar environment that you guys likely use every day. We can see a nice preview of what that PowerPoint is with our red title. And this preview window, by the way, can track about 400 different file types. And when we check that in, we'll get an opportunity to add a comment. So we'll say changed title to red. Okay. We'll see my name being removed from it because my name is next to it, and that was telling everybody that I was the one working on it. And we'll also notice that there's more than one version right now. We have two versions, 2 out of 2 of this PowerPoint, and we can very easily go back to an earlier version, just going to get version and create it. So that will go and exchange the one in memory here, and I can see exactly what it looked like before that change, or I can just hit get latest version and it will change back to the red one. So just the aspect of keeping track of a history of a file, and we'll see a quick history as well, is one of the big benefit of making sure that you have a successful tax claim, because doing the time logging is not going to be enough in many cases. It's about having those supporting artifacts. So what was the work that was actually worked on, and can we show somebody that it was tracked and logged and everything that's in there as well. Not to mention other benefits, of course, is having a clear record of exactly what was done to that document. So a very simple example, but I thought that would be a good place to start off. Another area that I want to talk about quickly is on the use of templates in order to launch different work that you're doing. So if you're right-clicking within the ePDM Vault, under the new pop-up menu, you'll have a listing of the new Windows Explorer type document. So that's going to be the same if you're in Windows or if you're or anywhere in the Windows environment. And we also have our template area on the top here. So let's have a quick look over there. If I'm on another folder, this is just regular Windows Explorer. So this is just regular Windows documents. But then when I'm within the ePDM vault, we'll see that that new area is added and we can now access our templates. So the benefit of launching projects or product structures with templates or really any documentation is that we're doing it to company standards. So we're doing it in a consistent way, and when on the back end, when we're reporting on this information, it's much more consistent and you don't have to worry about it. So we have a project number automatically generated. We'll do an SR&ED sample project that we're using for today. And then we'll categorize that project. So these categories, this is the type of stuff that we would help your company tailor to exactly what they want, and assign a project manager. We'll make myself the project manager here in Javelin. So basically what we're doing is we're filling in a quick form. It's prompting me with company standard information, but then in the background what we're doing is automatically creating the folder structure and files necessary to manage this project. So here we have 2011, or we're in year 2011, that's the way I set up my projects. And then we have project number dash project name set up for the structure. And then within there we'll see that we have a full folder structure that we can now work with. So again, the benefit here is that we're standardizing the information that's driven down to these folders. And this is an important aspect of doing time logging against these projects because we can drive this information directly into those timestamps. So we'll get into the timestamping in a minute, but before that I just thought I'd load in just a little bit of information just to show you some of the benefits of having it in there. So here we have an assortment of DWGs as well as some SolidWorks files. I'm just going to load that information in there, and what we'll notice is that Enterprise PDM is going to automatically keep an original backup of all the first files that are added there. It's going to automatically recognize all file references because it eliminates the need for worrying about the file references, and we'll keep those up to date automatically. So there's the file references here. Okay. And what it will also do is take all of the project information and drive that down into the files themselves. So here we have a simple drawing which is now stamped with SR&ED sample project, project number, and we're driving that into the file itself within the preview window. So we're able to, like the drawings can be automatically filled in, Excel documents can be automatically filled in, and the idea is that we're spending very little time on managing that textual information, and that just makes sure that all your reporting and searchability and all your title blocks are accurate, so you don't have to spend any extra effort on there. So coming to the time logging, that was of course the theme of today. I know a lot of attendees are existing ePDM customers, and I know a lot of that's repeat. But what we've done on the time logging is part of a standard project launch. We'd recommend having a time tracking folder specific for where users or engineers would go just to quickly log their times. And similar to the way I launched a new project, we can use the same template technique to launch a time tracking form for us to fill in. So I would recommend at the end of each day, or even a couple times throughout the day, think about where the time was spent throughout that day and log it against the project. Now this form, there's a lot of effort that we put into making sure that this form is structured in a way to really capture the right information that's necessary for logging time against SR&ED tax claims. So we've worked with a partner called TechCentive, and they helped us fill in this form just to make sure we're capturing the right information. So this is the way that time would be recommended to be captured or categorized, I should say. So you can put time towards engineering, for instance. And then what we did is every time you're logging a field, we're prompted with typical questions that we need to answer to make sure that this time is applicable for SR&ED tax credits. So it's not enough, like all of engineering time is obviously not refundable under that tax grant. But the idea is that if you spent time engineering where technical problems arose, or if you spent time and there were specific tasks that were learned or resulted in, or they were resolved or you had to resolve specific technical problems. So those are two sample questions related to engineering. So if you're able to put in a comment related to that, then it's SR&ED applicable. So you can say, I don't know, had problem with strength of bracket. So the idea is that you put something that's relevant to one of these questions, and then under the SR&ED applicable, of course, you would put yes. So the idea is that it's a very simplified form, just prompting you with the right information. And let's see a couple other examples. Computer programming, you can see that depending on what we're selecting there, these questions are going to be specific to that. Technical feasibility study, right? You can put SR&ED applicable there. Or you can also log time that's not even SR&ED applicable, say other time, and that would not be SR&ED applicable. So the idea is that we're capturing this information, we're automatically time-stamping it, and these particular log entries will be captured within the database and will be put in that folder structure in Enterprise PDM. So each individual log has its own, it's a CVD, which is a virtual file for Enterprise PDM. So you don't it's not really file management. We're just leveraging the same database. And then you can see that the information from the forum being captured, as well as the project information being driven down here as well. So the main benefits there is really on the reportability end of things. We're logging it against a project. That's what we're working on. And all of this information, without any extra work, is tracked and is included in the reporting side of things. So let's take a look at the searching and we can get a sense of what that's all about. So in the searching of Enterprise PDM, it's an alternate way to access really the same information within the vault. So here we have search cards, which is a really nice way to access the information. So I personally am a big fan of just using the engineering search card, and you can just get a sense of the speed of accessing this information. So I searched for all SolidWorks files, and you can see some stats on the bottom that in just over 2 seconds it found 2,700 SolidWorks files. I can filter those a little bit more by a range. So I want to look at SolidWorks files that are just worked on this week. And you can see in 0.3 seconds, it found the 12 SolidWorks files that I just put in today. So those are the ones I just loaded on that project. You can see the information in there automatically captured. So SR&ED sample project, the project number, all in there. So I could have very easily just searched by the project number, customer, and stuff like that. And these would have, of course, come up as well. So these search cards are definitely a very effective way of getting all project information at your fingertips with your complete history and revision control. When it comes down to SR&ED time logging, so that's what we just did, what I would recommend doing is using the time log specific search. So we generated, what we did is anything that that we do as far as a template goes. So we created a template to help log the time. We like having an associated search card to it that you can automatically retrieve all the results and have that information at your fingertips. So this is a quick search of all the time logs that I've ever done in the vault. You can filter that saying I only want to see SR&ED applicable time logs. So that filters that down to a lower number. And then I want to see I only want to see time logs that are applicable for this year. So let's go, well, really we'll go right to the end of the year. So let's say December 31st, 2011, so January 1st to December 31st. And we'll say that this is all time logs that I've added for the calendar year. Not that I've added that many, but this is obviously for demo purposes. And if this is something that I want to repeat in a very in a regular basis, just to see how much time we're logging against the projects, just to get a sense of what my engineers are doing in that area, what I would recommend doing is creating a search favorite. So this search favorite, we can say SR&ED time, and I'll do 2011. And I can give this to different users. I can give this to entire groups of people. And this is just a very quick way of accessing the exact same search. So if we, as an example, we'll do SR&ED time log 2010, is going to give me a search favorite that does the same thing for the 2010 calendar year. Or I can switch to SR&ED 2011, and that gives me a quick listing of all the SR&ED claims done in 2011. What I can do from there then is be able to report on that information. So the idea is that everything that's stored within the enterprise PDM vault, regardless of whether it's time logs, that's a specific example of today, but even if it's files, change requests, really you name it, whatever that you're working with, you can have reported on in very clear columns of information, which are really accessible to you and customizable depending on what you want. And all of that information can very easily be exported in a single button out to Excel. So this is where some of the benefits of, or where you can really reap some of the benefits of just doing reporting in Excel. So I'm not sure how familiar everybody out there is with Excel, but a really great way to work with this information is through pivot charts. So what I'm able to do there is just with a couple buttons, I can take that information and I can just give you a breakdown of where my shred applicable time went and in which category. So you can see, actually let's move this over a little bit, you can see the actual numbers. Actually that's fine. So you can see that 1 hour went towards analysis that was shred applicable. You can see 10.3 hours went towards data collection and so forth. So you can see an exact time breakdown and of course be able to total all of that as well. So the idea is that by having that information logged in ePDM, it's really just a couple clicks away to get the information you need in order to do an effective TAC or SR&ED tax claim. And this, this is just merely an example, by the way, again with the tax claim. I know a lot of customers, one of the things they gravitate towards the most is on like engineering change and on documents. So another great example would be having all of your change requests in Enterprise PDM as well. So here we can see a quick status of them, whether they're worked on, what the urgency is, the ECR type. Let's filter that down to just high urgency ECRs as an example, or we can reset that search and just go to all ECRs again. So very similar to tax or for that time logging, but again, just a button away to go and get all of that information out to Excel, and then it's very quick within Excel to go and capture and document exactly what that is. So let's filter this down by urgency type, by billable, and we'll do some counting. So you can see very clearly that we have some high urgent change requests. So of high urgency, and there's two main types. There's two related to failure prevention, as well as one related to, that was just a customer request came in. So that's really an area that we should focus on, assuming that these are, I didn't actually put the status, but of course that can be worked in as well. And then of course we can see them categorized in this medium and low area as well. So again, the idea is to get this information reportable, and just with a couple clicks being able to leverage it in order to have a good idea of where your time should be spent on these change requests, right? And to see how you're doing. If your goal is to reduce them, it's very difficult to reduce them if you're not really sure how many are going through and what the stats are and which areas there's a high volume in. So that's more on the reporting end. So let me just take a quick break and see if there's any questions. If you do have any questions, feel free to. I'm going to go back to ePDM just to show a couple more things, because I know that there's a big audience out there that is not an ePDM user. So I thought a good way to end off was just a very briefly related to revision management on these files. So I would stick in there if you're an existing user, just in case there's anything that would be of benefit to you guys. But basically what I wanted to show is taking one of these documents and passing it through an approval process. So here we have a drawing. We can see that it was drawn by, well, I guess QA was the login that originally drew it. It's not approved yet, and right now it doesn't have revisions. So it's important, again, going back to the whole SR&ED side of things, that we do have a nice log of the changes and anything that happens to this file, and also who worked on it and approved it. So the way that we capture and have multiple people approving files and being organized and where a project's at is via the use of workflow. So this is the way that we're doing that now within Enterprise PDM 2011 is under the Modify drop-down list. There is a pop-out for change state. So here we have two options. I can either send that document for approval, or I can specify that no approval is required. So two options there, and I'll show you in the background how that's set up in a minute. So in this case, I'm going to say submit for approval. I'll say please review. You might write another notification comment like I need this for Friday. And you might specify a certain individual that needs to be informed, so you can check off the manager in the box or a particular login saying they need to be made aware via an email that this is going through an approval process, because really I want them to check it. As much as possible, what we're trying to do with our customers is work in automation into the routine. So one area or one aspect that we can now do within EPDM 2011 is incorporate Design Checker. So for those existing clients out there that are just looking to further improve and to automate further, I would recommend looking into or asking, if you want our help, we're happy to point you in the right direction, or even come on site and set it all up for you. But it's about incorporating in the Design Checker. So the Design Checker is an aspect of SolidWorks where you can check your design against a company standard and develop a report on whether it passed or failed and which areas are needed for improvement. Just by passing that document through approval, though, we will notice that we have a different status. So each file does have a state. Some of them are assigned automatically. So we see that the PDF of a drawing is vaulted. We'll see that this TIFF file is waiting for processing. And we'll see that these files that I just sent for approval are now waiting for approval. In the background, it's really nice to see how that's structured. So we're doing our best to make strong recommendations on ways to use the EPDM workflow to really automate and have a lot of process at a company to make it work as efficiently as possible. And this is what the main workflow that we've come up with is we've kept it relatively simple. We can always expand on it from there. But the idea is to have three main states: work in progress, waiting for approval, and approved. And then you can move around between those. We noticed earlier on that we had two options. I could have sent that file for approval. That was this transition. And I also could have skipped that, and I could have said no approval required. So changes to this workflow can enforce the company processes very effectively. In this case, you can see my login, Eric, is permitted to send something without approval and bypass it to approved. And I'm going to deselect that checkbox and save that workflow. Because that's really something that an end user who I'm taking the role of right now shouldn't have. And what I really wanted to point out, though, is the change to the process. So if I were to look at this other file, which is still work in progress, we'll notice instantly that now I only have one option to submit for approval, and I don't have that option to do no approval required. So just the idea of taking a process as an administrator or a manager and being able to make a quick tweak and automatically have that the way that everybody's working is just incredibly powerful. And that's another, especially on the automation standpoint, so incorporating design checker or automatically producing PDF, whatever it is that takes time at your company, as much as possible, I'd encourage you to work it into the process end of things. And maybe to end off the webinar, what I'll do, or the demonstration portion, and then we'll just wrap up on a couple slides. I'm going to log in as another user, as the manager in this case. There we go. And what we'll notice is that we have some notifications. So we have a notification that happened earlier at the beginning of this webinar because I added a document that was considered a scanned document. That was a TIFF image. So that's something that a few different clients have requested that we like showing as a demonstration example. It's now waiting for processing. And you have hyperlinks to be able to quickly access the information for the file. And then we have our notification that just got sent, so you can see it's about 4 minutes ago, with links to the files, the comments that I added, and exactly what happened by what user. So these notifications at a user or at our customers are typically set up through their email server. So it's nice to have them just in like your Outlook inbox and have them filtered and automatically categorized. And then in order to work with those files, let's go back in the vault. It's nice to see the search favorites. So similar to the way I used favorites before, what I can do is let's look for all files that are waiting for approval. And these files will automatically appear on that list. So you can see very clearly that these files are now waiting for approval on this list. I can review them right within the search dialog. I can even mark up and measure them using the eDrawings professional capability. And then last but not least, I can of course approve them. So if I'm happy with how these drawings look, I can just simply right click from here and say they look good, so I can pass approval. I can re-authenticate for a password. This password authentication, by the way, was added to help the medical companies out there that are trying to incorporate an electronic signature. So having a re-authentication of password is a critical step in order to make sure that this is the person that they say they are. We can automate again, similar to the design checker, automatically go and produce some PDFs and then fill in the title blocks for you as well. So there's the revision as well as the approver and date automatically filled in. So you can see that right from start to finish, it's very easy to work with the system, but also very easy to work as a team to get this information either out to the shop floor or out to their customers, wherever the files need to go. So to end off this demonstration, why don't we look quickly for PowerPoints. There we go. So we'll use my search favorite to look for PowerPoints and open up this PowerPoint presentation we did earlier on. And I thought I'd just summarize some of the key aspects of Enterprise PDM for those of you who are new out here. One of the primary things about it that's made it so successful is the fact that it's simple, built on Windows Explorer, so very easy to adopt, implement, and use. It's very powerful, the fact that it works on any file type, so it's much more. I just showed some SolidWorks, some Microsoft files today, but keep in mind that you can really put whatever you want within that system. It also leverages templates, so this was a key aspect when it comes to time logging, where we can log time in a very standardized way, following company standards to put those files or to put those entries in there. But we obviously showed a few other examples today as well. The searching and reporting, once that information is in there, makes it very readily accessible at your fingertips. Okay. The workflows we talked about, and that's really the process end of things, making sure that the standards of how information is changing hands is followed, but also make sure you're automating as much as possible. So make sure that you're triggering certain aspects or certain things that you're doing manually right now, like PDFs or ERP integration. Try to trigger those as much as possible. And then a few other aspects. If you're looking for some extra security, where I know a lot of companies in aerospace, defense, and medical are quite commonly looking for that, or if you see your company growing and you're just looking for something that can handle um, or can grow with you over the years, just know that this system, the architecture, there's companies out there with hundreds of users using the system all simultaneously. And then, of course, connect with other systems. I'll just go through this in one quick second, but basically it's an important thing to know that enterprise PDM is at the heart of how we recommend companies being structured from an automation standpoint. So whether you're working with ERP systems, whether you're working with other designers using other tools or offerings that we have, the idea is enterprise PDM is a single source to have all of your project-related information. And one of the focuses of today was, of course, on your time logging. So having that, not only having all your artifacts for a successful SR&ED tax claim, but also having your time logged in the same spot. There is over 50,000 users using it out there, so it's by no means a new product. It's making a lot of customers very happy and relieving a lot of headaches along the way. So it's a great system all around. And in a quick customer example, I thought I'd end off on Nurse Engineering. They used it. They're a great example of a smaller team, but they of course have been growing because of the success of their company. So they started with merely a couple users, but have been growing quite rapidly to take on and be able to manage more project information. And they've had some very significant benefits of being able to coordinate multiple designers, even if it's just a smaller team working within that project. Thanks very much for attending, and hopefully we'll talk soon, or give me a call at any point in order to help you out.